Again, Alex dragged himself through his lessons. Barely stays awake during his class, Economics of Transportation and Logistics. After reading the many tales on his favorite story channel, he chose this study. Sometimes he regretted it. A recurring theme in those tales was that while tactics win battles, logistics wins wars. And he wanted to be the victor in the end. His parents thought he was aiming for a stable job. Little did they know that he planned on making a living as a gamer. A dream coming true. When Alex thought about dreams, he immediately recalled the battles he fought and the options still left to explore. He could do something funny with those. While his mind wandered, a somewhat familiar voice whispered, "Pay attention. This is important." Looking around, Alex saw nothing out of the ordinary and returned his focus to the teacher. When he finally got home, his head was pounding mercilessly. The pain made him nauseous, and he could not eat. The growing hunger only intensified his headache, creating a downward spiral he could only escape by going to sleep in a dark room. The door of his bedroom briefly blurred and pixelated. Was it his fatigue? He tried to think about the strange dreams he'd had lately and the odd visual distortions he sometimes experienced, but couldn't focus. Shaking off the peculiar feeling, he went to bed. Exhausted, he fell asleep almost as soon as his head hit the pillow. Immediately, he started to feel cold again. He knew where this was going. He felt relieved, escaping his headache. The tiny light moved towards him. He looked forward to the next battle. He was never lose 85, and he would prove that even in his dreams. The robotic voice started to speak. "You have been selected as prime candidate from your simulation. Your purpose is to win war and ensure continued existence of life. Fail and all will end." This scared Alex. A lot. Was his now favorite dream turning into a nightmare? The voice continued, "Choose." And the familiar commander selection came into vision. Alex tried to shake off the feeling of dread while absently going through the options. He had such great plans for the next battle. He wanted to try something hilarious. But could he with so much at stake? "Sure I can," Alex thought. "It doesn't matter as long as I win. I am never lose 85. And a little pressure won't hurt me. It is probably all bullshit anyway." Alex tried to calm himself down while he chose a builder commander with again the riot gun and extra armor. It is just a dream, right? Alex wondered as he was transported into the battlefield. Alex had no more time to contemplate his situation. With only a few seconds left, he started to queue up building commands. This battlefield was simple. Only land, divided by a large mountain range and a few passes in the middle. Alex raced to secure as many resources as possible. Remembering layouts the enemy used in the first battle and his tactical instincts, he created the bare minimum of defenses to counter a possible rush. But nothing came. Was his opponent doing the same? Quickly, he produced a stealthy scout to infiltrate the enemy lines and see what the enemy was up to. In his last battle, he barely won, and he did not like the fact he nearly lost because he didn't know what his opponent was up to. And the stakes were higher now? Or maybe they always were. He still didn't know, and still had no time to think about it. His opponent was executing a similar tactic and was slightly ahead of him. A giant gun was being erected that would level his entire base if it came online. He had no moment to lose. Focusing on the task on hand, a thin smile appeared. Or would have appeared if he still was a human. Still a human? Those thoughts. Alex quickly commanded his builders to a new terraforming project in front of his factory. He started to build a giant ramp. He had seen units flying around after the impacts of heavy weapons. And if units could fly, he might have a use for a strange stationary building that he made plans for during some of the more boring classes. The setting had something that could push or pull units depending on its settings. Together with the ramp, he might be able to pull off something both hilarious and devastating. The sheer audacity of the attack left Alex's nearly trembling. Alex completed the constructions while keeping an eye on his enemy's progress. About 3/4 done with his big gun. If his plan worked, this would be an easy victory. The last step would be creating cheap units. A lot of them. He ordered all of his builders to assist in their construction. One by one, they marched out of the factory. tiny robots that had their primary use in the opening stages of the battle. The robots marched towards the ramp in a steady stream. The push-pull buildings started to accelerate the robots, and they raced across the rise to be launched in a high arc toward the enemy base. He overdid it a tiny bit and had to turn off a few pushers to make them land in the middle of the enemy base. Robots that hit structures exploded, causing huge damage. A few of the robots survived the impact. While heavily damaged, they started to obliterate the weak economic structures from within the enemy base. His opponent's defensive structures were of little use as they caused as much damage on his own structures as on the attacking robots. A few moments later, the robots destroyed the builders working on the game-ending structure and started to chew at the giant gun itself. A message, "I will report you," appeared, and everything went dark again. Giggling, and forgetting the possible gravity of his situation for a moment, he noticed he had gained another rank. He was never lose 85, and he did it again.